Okay, hello everybody. Today we're here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 in Just Flight's Piper Warrior 2. We have a 71 nautical mile flight from India 74 Grimesfield to India 69 Sporties. Both of those are freeware airports and you can download them by following the links in the video details. We'll be departing just before sunset, so after the sun sets we'll get a chance to log some night hours and do a night landing. And I'll talk about how it compares to a real-life night landing at the end of the video. Should be an awesome flight, so let's hop into the pilot's seat and get started. Okay, I'm sitting here with Monica in the Piper Warrior 2 by Just Flight. So we'll head over here and open up the storm window. Now we will go down here and check that our circuit breakers are in, our switches are off, our mixture is to idle cutoff, and the throttle is to idle. Trim is set to take off. Then we'll go over to the fuel selector and turn that to the left fuel tank. Back to the switches, turn the battery and the alternator on, check the fuel gauges left and right, look good and match what we measured during our pre-flight walk around. Now we'll crack the throttle, bring the mixture to full rich. We'll check that the prop is clear, clear prop. Head back down here, feet on the brakes. We'll turn on the fuel pump. Keys are in the ignition. Fuel pump off and turn it over to start. And we've got a good engine start. Check the engine gauges and we can see that we do have fuel pressure. That looks good. And we will adjust the RPMs to 1,000. That all looks good. Let's lean the mixture for ground operations. Now we'll hop over to the right here, but first I'm going to close the window because that's kind of noisy. We'll get the avionics on. This is how the Garmin boots up in real life. There's a test versus the course deviation indicator for half up, half left, no flags. That's not modeled in the sim, but the OBS connection is, so we will put that to 060, see 060 on the Garmin, and we are good. It will acquire all the GPS satellites, which it does in real life as well. And while it's doing that, I can open up ForeFlight and take you through the flight brief. So we are departing from India 74 Grimesfield. That's an untowered field. If we tap on the weather, we've got nice VFR weather. We've got some high clouds that are scattered and broken, but plenty of room between them and us for our flight. We're going to fly to Springfield first, which is a nice illuminated area. Remember, we're going to be getting some night flying in. Use Xenia as our next waypoint, and then fly to Kings Island Amusement Park. Again, a nice illuminated area. We'll remain underneath the Bravo shelf, and then approach Sporty's, India 69. Weather looks great at Sporty's. Again, nice VFR weather. Should be a really nice flight. Grimesfield traffic. Warrior 8289 Alpha, taxi from the ramp to runway 20 Grimesfield. This is a fantastic freeware airport. I can't believe that it's free. So I flew to this in my last video and I just had to fly out of it again. You can see the sun is getting pretty low up there. So we will be departing just before sunset and it should be dark by the time we get to where we're going. Gonna hang a right here. And we're coming up on the hold short lines here. So we'll stop and do our run up. Alright, we'll bring the RPMs up to 2,000. We've already got the mixture to full rich to do our mag check. That's nicely modeled here in the Piper Warrior. There we go, we're at 2,000. So first we're going to go to mag left and we're going to watch for the drop. That's a good drop, and that's within range. Oops, went over to mag right, meant to go back to both. Went back to both, went back up, over to mag right, and we get the same amount of drop that's within range, back to both. We've got carb heat here. This is a carbureted engine, so put carb heat on, and we get a small drop that stays steady, which is good, so no carb ice going on here. Put carb heat back off, and our RPMs go back up. Now we can bring the throttle back down. We've got transponder to all. We'll bring on the landing light and the strobes. and we're good to go. Grimes Field traffic, November 8289 Alpha, departing runway 20, doing a straight out departure, climbing to 4,500 Grimes Field. And you can see that the sun is just starting to touch the horizon. So a little bit of real life trivia for you. There's 3 definition of nights. This is a favorite question for pilots on their oral exam. The first is when you have to turn on position lights. That's the red and the green lights and the white light on the tail, and that's right at sunset. The second is when you can log night hours, and that's civil twilight, which is around 20 to 25 minutes after sunset. It's when the sun is 6 degrees below the horizon. And then the last is when you can log night landings, and that's an hour after sunset. So all 3 of those mean something different. It's like 3 different definitions of night. We're going to hit all 3 of them over the course of this flight. Alright, we're going to keep climbing until we get to pattern altitude plus 500 so that we're clear of the airport, and then we'll turn right now onto our initial heading, which will track us to Springfield. So we're on track. Let's sit back and enjoy that awesome flight simulator scenery. And here, I think we'll hop out of the musical montage and take you along with me for the whole night landing. So we've got a road here that I could see on the sectional map, and that's telling me that the field's there, although I can't see it from this angle. So we've got to come around until we are passing perpendicular to it to be able to see it. And there it is. See the lights just coming on, and that's very real. It is hard to see lighted runways from the side. It's not until you're lined up with them, looking down at them, that you can really see them. So we've moved over to maneuvering over to the downwind, and I can see I've got some traffic off there to the right. Looks like it's higher than me, and I think it's moving parallel and away from me, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And I've also got some traffic over here to the left in the pattern, so he's on the base, and that is a real-world airplane using the live traffic mod that I've got running for this, which is very cool because airplanes will actually fly the pattern because that's what they're doing in real life. So I can see my traffic over there to the right is still above me and passing behind me. That looks good. And the other guy in the pattern has landed. Great. So now it's starting to get hard to see the field again, right? We're parallel to it. So it sort of turns invisible. We're going to turn base here, and now I've got it back in sight to turn final. And we are high and a little bit far, and this is the trick of night landing. It is like so much illusions because you can't see the ground, so it's hard to judge your altitude, and you're aiming for this trapezoid of lights that's kind of floating around in the darkness. Now we've got some pappies to help us. I can see we're high, so I'm pulling the power and putting in all of the flaps to bring me lower and get on glide slope. And I think we're going to be fine with all the flaps and the power pulled out. We're going to get one of those to turn red pretty soon. We're almost on glide slope. Try to line ourselves up. Again, really only have the runway lights as a visual reference for this. I will say my first night landing was intense. It was like flying into the void. There we go, we're on glide slope. And this is very real too. It's not until you're right over the runway that your landing light catches any of the runway. And then as you pitch your nose up, you kind of lose that because the light's pointing up now. So you're still sort of flying in the darkness and just trying to feel for where the runway is with your wheels. But we did it. We're alive. That was very much like the real thing. I really enjoyed that. It kind of actually made me a little anxious, just like a real life night landing does. So now this is also very real too. Taxiing in the dark is a real challenge. And I think it's maybe a little darker here in Sporties than probably it is in real life. Not much is lit up here. So that was a lot of fun. That was very realistic. That is what a night landing feels like. And I actually found myself getting a little bit anxious there on short final in the sim, having trouble seeing the runway, just like I feel when I've done this in real life. So very cool. I love when the simulator reproduces a feeling that I have in reality. So I hope you enjoy realistic general aviation flying like this. If you do, be sure to leave me a comment, click that like button, and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps the channel. Thanks, as always, for flying along with me, and stay tuned for further flight adventures.